Thank you all for joining us here at the YouTube Distribute space. We're so excited to be here with Sean Rad, who's the CEO and co-founder of Tinder. He literally flew in from LA a few minutes ago and will be leaving right after, so we're so excited to have you here with us.
My pleasure, man.
Awesome. So just to give a gist of what we can expect here, so this is all about distribute. So here at I/O we have the design, the develop spaces, but we really want to focus on distribute. So after you build a great product, what exactly happens for you to get out there? And we have a perfect example here with Tinder. I'm sure it's an app that I imagine a lot of you have used. If not, I feel like I've come up with the usage of, I think 20% of your traffic from San Francisco comes from my user account. Is that what you were telling me the other day?
Active, yeah.
Yeah, so that was our trade-off. So he revived my social life, and I brought Sean in for I/O. So that's how this works. So Sean, why don't you let us know a little bit about Tinder, what it's about for those of us who may not know, and then we'll dive into the interview.
So who's used Tinder in the room? Okay. Basically, Tinder makes it very easy for you to meet somebody new. When you want to meet somebody new, there's always this challenge, whether it's romantic or a business relationship, where you have to put yourself out there and you feel like you're about to get rejected and you feel overwhelmed, or somebody's coming after you and you feel like, again, overwhelmed, or you're going to have to reject on the other end. So there's this like inherent friction. And we started Tinder because we just wanted to break that down. We didn't want to create a directory of people and just sort of let everyone figure out how to connect with them. We really wanted to sort of give people a way to overcome the barriers when it comes to meeting new people. And the way we do that is simple. We find out when somebody you want to meet actually wants to meet you back, and we do so in a way that doesn't require you putting yourself out there. And it's sort of like you walk into a room and what people do is they sort of look at people in the room and say yes, no in their heads subconsciously. And then once in a while you look at somebody across the room and they look at you back, and you know you both want to meet each other. And at that moment, nobody's the aggressor. You're both just responding to this sort of double opt-in, as we call it. And sort of a conversation progresses from there. And Tinder works very similar to that.
Awesome. So Sean, let's rewind the clocks back. When did you guys start? When was Tinder officially launched to the market? And take me through what was day one like? What was going through your head? Take me through that moment.
Yeah. So we launched in August 2012, and the way we launched is everyone in the room who was with us at the time, basically I instructed everyone to take out their phones and text 100 of their friends. And what we saw was amazing. When we started basically spreading the word through social media and through our friends, we had 500 users that night. The next day, just through organic word of mouth, we had 1,000. And what happened was, a lot of our friends came back to us and they're like, "Wow, I connected with this girl that I would see around town. I had no idea who it was. You're a common friend. And I'm going out with her tonight." And I was just like, wow, that was quick. It worked. And literally within 24 hours, we started seeing all these results within our group of friends.
Wow.
Friendships being formed, relationships being formed. And a week later, that same group, so there was like a 99.5 retention rate, daily retention rate.
Amazing.
So like everyone was opening the app every single day. And sort of we knew we had something. Right, and there was value that we were giving our users. So from there, what we did, we realized that in order to sort of retain the essence of Tinder and to have a valuable ecosystem where people are actually engaged and they're actually using it the right way, we needed the product to grow organically, and for two reasons. One, a user who comes in organically through a friend, through word of mouth, is way more valuable because they're more engaged. And when you sort of have this network effect, you want your user to be engaged. And if they're not, when I swipe right on somebody, I'm not going to get a response. And there's, the sort of the overall value of our ecosystem goes down. So, every incremental user that is organic increases the sort of overall value of the ecosystem. Any, user who comes and deflects decreases the overall value. And the second thing is, we realized that to really understand Tinder, it's something that your friend needs to teach you. and that the people would make the most out of the experience. There's like every ecosystem has this like inherent language on what you do, what you say when you match, for example, or what do you send in a Snapchat to your friends. Like, these things get developed through social. There's sort of these social norms that get developed, and we knew that those fibers needed to be built on Tinder and needed to grow. It needed to happen organically. So we actually had access to a lot of channels where we could acquire a lot of users quickly, but we sort of let the platform grow organically from there.
So you guys didn't take advantage of those channels. Like, what were some of those channels that you could have taken advantage of, but you didn't? You held back on?
For example, an early, one of our major investors and shareholders is IAC, and they were like, hey, feel free to use our email lists. We had celebrities, for example, who wanted to tweet it out. Celebrities that are friends with us. I mean, very big celebrities that could get access, could give us a lot of eyeballs immediately. We didn't want to do that because we weren't ready to take the training wheels off. We wanted sort of the ecosystem to develop. Also, we knew our product was a location-based product, right? And you want to go to places where there's density, and so here's what we did do. I'm sure that was going to be your next question.
You read my mind. Yes, exactly.
So what we realized is that in order to truly test whether we're solving a real problem, we had to go to an environment where people were already very social charged and had a lot of access to meeting new people. Meaning, we weren't trying to help you. We weren't. Our goal isn't to sort of create this directory of people to sort of solve the problem, to solve a problem where you as an individual might not have access to enough people. We were trying to solve the problem of you knowing who you want to talk to, or sort of going about your life and seeing a lot of people that you want to talk to, but not having the context to sort of go up to them and start a conversation. And we felt that was a problem for most of humanity. And in order to really, really test whether that is a problem and whether our solution had value, we sort of went to colleges, because colleges, that's an environment where if you really want to stress test our product, you go to colleges, because it's a group of people who have access to a lot of like-minded individuals. They're in a socially charged environment. You would imagine there are a lot of opportunities to go over and say hello. There is a lot of context. We're in the same class together.
Totally, yeah.
So we thought if we could deliver a lot of value to colleges, then the rest of the world, and they had a problem that needed to be solved, then the rest of the world certainly had a problem that needed to be solved, and we could deliver a lot of value to them. So we went to colleges, because it was like shooting fish in a barrel. It was a highly dense environment where the word can travel and people can sort of teach each other how to use Tinder, and B, because like I said, it was a good way to stress test the problem and the solution and sort of figure out if we truly were onto something. So how did we, which I'm sure is my next question, how did we go to colleges?
I feel like he's doing the interview for himself.
Well, we did over the phone, so so what we did is, what we did is we identified in every college, in every sort of location, a key influencer, somebody who is looked up to amongst his peers, and can really cause change. And I think a lot of times people think that is a quantity thing. It's not. Meaning, if you really look at college campuses, I don't know if you've sort of gone to college or sort of think about how trends start and everything, it doesn't start through a lot of people using something at once. I mean, sorry, that's not what I meant to say. A habit or trend isn't formed because you go to like 100 or 200 people and basically tell them to use the product and sort of tell their friends. A habit is formed because there's this one person that a group of people look up to, and that person does something, and that sort of it's like top-down marketing. Everyone else follows. Then there's another layer that follows that group, and it sort of just expands from there. So it's like, who's that patient zero? And finding that patient zero was something that we thought a lot about. And we were lucky that at USC, which is where I went to school and my partner Justin went to school, patient zero was somebody that we knew. We knew basically the big person on campus that everyone looked up to. And then from there, that person knew somebody else at another college campus, and that person knew somebody else, and sort of, and then that network of reps that we called them became international, because that person had a friend who lives in Paris. And then what became college reps ended up becoming, various socialites and influential individuals in just sort of cities, not necessarily on a college, but like sort of in a larger area. And then from there, that grew into celebrities. And at a certain point, we stopped. I mean, now every day there's influencers, there's press, there's a lot of people talking about Tinder, and none of that is, I would say, provoked by us. This is just all organic. We're more in like, we're sort of, we take inbound requests, and our job today when it comes to marketing is to ensure that people are saying the right things, not to encourage them to talk about Tinder, because it seems like a lot of people want to talk about Tinder. It's about supplying them with the right language and our vision, so they understand what is the actual story here, and sort of people don't. We don't like people going off and sort of making their own stories, particularly with the press. We want to help guide them to understand what is working and what the facts are.
Of course, yeah. Something that really stuck out to me, and as you're just describing it here, is like, my goodness, Sean and Tinder have brought Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point to life. That they talk about all the theories there, but here's an example of how you've identified an influencer and they've spread your message as an evangelizer for Tinder. And I think that's something really beautiful. And I want to dive more into the details of, how did you enable them to talk about your message? What did you give them? Because I think so many people here at IO, you're working on a product, you're working on an app, you're thinking about how to distribute it and how to get it out there. But what specific stuff do you give like an influencer, whether they're on a college campus or not? Are you sending them an email with here are attachments and talking points of what to talk about Tinder? Let's get like real specific about what do you give them?
So we first and foremost supplied them with a very simple way to describe the value proposition, something that resonates with their friends. Meaning, they might look at the product and sort of feel the benefits and understand it, but articulating those benefits is a science. And so, we had effective ways of articulating it, and we sort of supplied these reps with the language and sort of guided them on the best ways to just verbalize their thoughts and explaining to their friends. And then from there, giving them, I don't want to get into detail as far as like what is it that we do, because I'd kind of give away parts of our secret sauce. But there is a sort of a playbook that we had on college campuses. One of the things that we would do, I'll give you one example. Sororities and fraternities have Monday night dinners, where basically everyone in the sorority fraternity is present, and there's various announcements, whatnot. We went into the sorority fraternity dinners disguised as students. We told the sororities. Did you wear
the whole gear, everything, like a hoodie?
It wasn't me. It was our team and my partner. Yeah.
That must have been a fun assignment. I would have loved to join the Tinder team just for that assignment.
It was.
John, we're putting you into a fraternity.
There were some funny stories there, but basically, so we would go to the sororities and say, hey, the guys at the fraternities are swiping on Tinder right now. You should get on it. And then we would do vice versa. We'd have girls go visit the guys and guys visit the girls, and it would sort of just create this ruckus. So we would, every time we would do that, there'd be like an instant 150 user, 300 user bump. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot. I mean, right now, we add more than multiple college campuses and users a day. But 200-300 users when we just launched.
And how long ago was this, Sean? This was only about a year ago?
This was over a year and a half ago.
Isn't that amazing? Just a year ago, just these little 100 signups there, they just grow into what it is today.
It's amazing. And what happened was, so we did a lot on college campuses. We threw events, we threw parties. Again, when you have the right crowd, you have the right social influencers. It helps. We threw parties where you couldn't get access to the parties unless you had Tinder on your phone, and you had to show the bouncer that you were actually active on Tinder. What really happened, and this was the tipping point, we hit 20,000 users in January of last year, and everyone left for college break. What is winter break, right? Everyone left for winter break, and they went home and they started telling their friends, and they started telling their older brothers, younger sisters, whatever. And from January 1st, we had 20,000 users. On January 30th, we had 500,000 users. And this is all organic. There is nothing we did outside of supplying the reps, outside of basically identifying and encouraging people to be our advocates, and sort of finding that patient zero and then enabling patient zero to express themselves. And like, I think for all of you guys, if you have a product that you, if you really understand who your customer is, it will help you identify who that key influencer is. And it doesn't need to be a celebrity. It doesn't need to be somebody who's recognizable to the masses. It could be somebody who's recognizable to like a core subset of your user base, somebody who's influential there. And having that person promote your product and believe in it, I mean, frankly, there's no substitute for bad products. So you actually have to have a product that works and is good, right? But having that person, I think, is going to give you invaluable feedback, is going to it's going to make all the difference. At least for Tinder, it made all the difference. And again, it's not, when you're growing, it's not about quantity. I mean, there are plenty of apps that shoot up to the top 10 and the day after are just gone, right, from the top 2. Actually, there's a famous app that just launched that, I'll just say it, Slingshot, right? It's just like, yeah. I was looking at the App Store today. I'm like, where is Slingshot? I can't even find it. It was like top 10, and like literally, it's not even in the top 300 or the top 200. And I think it's a perfect example, right? If you look at our growth, we didn't have many fluctuations. It was like, we were consistently in like the top 100, and then consistently in like the top 75, and then consistently in the top 50. And it's more powerful because our users, if you look at our DAU to MAU ratio, it's incredibly strong. If you look at the engagement that we have every single day, it's incredible. I mean, our users spend an average of 77 minutes a day in the app, and we get a billion swipes every single day, and we create over 12 million matches. We would never get, I mean, even if you gave me like a billion email addresses, and I emailed a billion email addresses, I don't think we would get to where we're at today. I think there's these social norms that have to develop, the product has to grow organically, there's a language that builds over time, and how you launch these things are very important.
That's awesome. Sean, I think you've done so many smart things, like from holding back on having celebrities tweet before it was too soon, to obviously like setting up these influencer programs and reaching out. But what's something that you look back on and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that, maybe it was a mistake? You're obviously more experienced now than you were a year ago.
I make mistakes every day. Like, I mean, you want me to I go back to yesterday, I probably made like 10 mistakes. I mean, it's I think great leaders and great innovators make mistakes every day, but learn from them and not only improve themselves, but improve everyone around them as a result of those mistakes. So it's a tough question only because there's like 100 things that I can think of. When it comes to distribution, though, a mistake that we made, I think we underestimated how popular Tinder would become, and I can't explain how stressful it was in the first 3 months when we're growing like this, and our prototype code is just crashing left and right. And it's stressful when you're sort of just trying to get attention. When you have all the attention, and then some, and you have everything to lose, that's a different kind of stress. And believe me, it keeps you up at night just probably even more than not having a lot of attention and trying to get customers. Once you have a lot of customers and you have everything to lose, the way you think about the world really changes. I think the biggest mistake that we made, and maybe it's not a mistake in retrospect because maybe it would have impacted other things, is I probably would have encouraged our team to take a little more care in the code and basically design it for scale day one versus, you always hear about MVP this, MVP that, and everyone's just trying to get the product out there. I think they're defining what that MVP is the trick, and really understanding sort of what are the benchmarks of success and are you prepared for each benchmark? What are the benchmarks not only of success from a technical standpoint, but from a product standpoint, understanding like what are what is it that you're truly trying to accomplish, and have you sort of put a check mark on like the truly minimal things that you need to sort of create an experience that I'm willing to tell my friends, who then is willing to tell somebody else, and then we're able to extract the core value of Tinder. So I think one of the things that, I wouldn't say we drastically underestimated what that MVP was. We sort of underestimated it. And there was a point in January when we were growing like this, when we went from 20,000 to 500,000 almost overnight, where I was literally like, okay, we're gonna have we had maybe 30 minutes of downtime, which is amazing in retrospect. But I was like, at any minute, everything's just gonna collapse, and we're gonna be down for 24 hours because this architecture has its bottleneck and just won't go past that, and hardware can't solve it, and we recovered. I mean, that didn't happen because we were maintaining our existing code base while we were sort of we were rebuilding the plane while it was flying in the air at tens of thousands of feet, and it was stressful, but we got through it. So I think in retrospect, I would have planned a little bit more for success.
That's fantastic. Thank you for being so open about that. So I want to open up to you guys to be able to ask questions, because I think the most amazing thing about this journey is that, Sean, it could be one of you guys in the seat next year, just a year, what a difference makes when you're smart about how to develop and distribute your product. So Sean, thank you so much for joining us, and then we'll pass around the mic to open it up to you guys if you guys have any questions.
I guess I'm really boring. Shit.
Or maybe you just answered all the questions.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, how are you, man?
Could you tell us as you've grown into this stage, and as you said, you kind of where you were 2 years ago or a year and a half ago to where you are today, your mind has shifted, and into the challenges that you have. What are the challenges that you all face today as you've grown to did you say 1 billion swipes a day?
A day.
Yeah.
Billion
So
swipes a day.
what are the things that you lose sleep over today?
What I lose sleep over right now is recruiting the best minds to join us. People who understand our vision, believe in it, and sort of have unique talents required that we require to sort of get there. Right now, it's all about scale, scale, scale. There was a period of time where, I still to this day, I hate large teams. I don't know anyone who likes large teams.
How big is the Tinder team now?
Right now the team's 40 people, and we've sort of hit this point where it's we can't stay small anymore because shit's breaking, and we're recruiting. But as much as there's a need to sort of bring in help. I'm trying my hardest to sort of keep the bar on excellence on who we bring in very high. And we're slow to hire because we're just we're so careful that every person who comes in understands sort of our core principles, our culture, and has the curiosity and the talent that's needed to propel us forward. Finding great people is the hardest thing in the world. I mean, it's people. What builds great companies are people, and what got us here are great minds that I was fortunate enough to surround myself with, and what will usher us into the future is the same thing. So if anyone's looking, to join an awesome team, come talk to me, please.
Oh, hi,
Cool.
Sean.
Oh,
Here.
there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I want to ask you, how
I
did
can't
you
hear you.
guys?
Can you maybe move the mic up?
Can you hear now?
Yeah, there you go.
How did you guys deal with competition? Because there's a lot of apps similar to Tinder in the markets that were in the market for quite a long time.
Yep.
So what were your goals in trying to overcome
competition. Honestly, we till this day I can confidently say we don't give a shit about the competition. The reason, but it's not because actually we do look at the competition to see where we can learn. But the reason we don't care is we have our own vision of where we want to be, and what others are doing is irrelevant to that. We have a roadmap. I have a list so long of what I want to accomplish, and you go to everyone in the company, and it's they got their list, and together we're prioritizing and sort of building this roadmap that gets us closer to our vision. And the competition, in some cases, could help you figure out what are the right steps through their own experiences that you can learn from as a bystander. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what builds great companies is sort of a very common understanding amongst great people that are working with you on where you want to be and what it takes to get there. And there are a lot of people at Tinder who put a lot of time and energy into thinking about those steps and analyzing what did we do. Sometimes we unknowingly did it that brought us to where we are. And that knowledge is knowledge that the competition doesn't have. The passion that we have and the investment we've made in sort of getting to our ultimate sort of vision is an investment a lot of the times copycats haven't made. And that's why they just drop like flies. And I'm still waiting for like a viable competitor, like somebody who's not like, we're literally going to take an X, a heart, a stack of cards, and put people in it and just let you swipe, because that's not what Tinder is. There's a lot under the hood. There's a lot more science behind it. But like, there's certainly a lot of competition who does that. But I'm still waiting for somebody who's sort of not thinking about Tinder, but thinking about the problem that we're trying to solve and is going to come up with a unique solution, and that's somebody I want to talk to. But it's about identifying the problem, and sort of our solution is just one solution. Because there are potentially 100 ways to solve the problems that we have. But what makes a company is everyone is unified around what that vision is and what is it that you're trying to deliver to your customers. And I think we know that very well, and that is where we compete, not in the product and in the user base, but in a team who understands what they're doing.
Fantastic.
What's up?
Hi, thanks for coming. My name's Al. Tinder-specific strategy question.
Yeah.
You swipe right, a couple moments later, you have a chat line open up. How do you personally start your Tinder conversations?
Most pressing question of the day.
So it's easier for me because I could ask, hey, how are you liking Tinder? And everyone wants to tell me about their experiences. But that's a great question. I struggled with that. A lot of people struggle with that. And what we realized is we did a really good job of helping you say hi to somebody, like connect with somebody. And then we created another problem, which is we've now created 2 billion total matches, and that's growing. And people sort of don't know what to say. Now that they're in front of somebody, they know that person's interested in them back. And the tools to get to know somebody are very primitive, in my opinion. And then the tools to express yourself are also primitive. At least on Tinder, they're very primitive. So Moments, we just launched Moments. And the idea behind Moments was to solve that exact problem. What you say could be something that's in response to a moment that person has expressed or shared with their followers. And so I think the best answer I would say is like, pay attention to who the person is in their profile and what they're trying to convey, and then what they're trying to convey in the moment, in their moments, and have a response that's personal, that's related to that. Haze for horses, haze work actually on Tinder, but probably aren't going to help you get closer to the individual. But starting with something that's more personal probably is my best advice. And that works best.
Awesome. Thanks, Beth.
Hi, thanks for coming. This is maybe more of a, based on your users,
Yeah.
have you seen perhaps a cultural shift in dating culture in general? Or maybe a lack of bias, because there used to be a lot of bias towards internet dating, and now people seem to be more...
Yeah. I think there's been a stigma around online or mobile dating. I actually don't even think about Tinder as online or mobile dating. I think about Tinder as solving a problem that we all face, whether it's offline or online or anywhere. And it's a human issue that we're solving. And again, we're not building a directory, we're sort of helping to solve the question of, is that person interested in me? Should I approach them? Should I not approach them? Is there context there? And that is a problem that exists in romantic relationships, business relationships, friendships, anything, and is something that Tinder is solving. And I think there's another set of problems that other products are solving, which aren't necessarily what Tinder's doing. have we seen a shift in sort of just the overall attitude towards using an app to meet somebody? Yes, I think if you look at the user base that we have, which is growing incredibly fast, and you actually just, once we survey those users and actually compare them to other data that we have through some of our partners, there is a vast majority of our users are new entrants into the space, right? These are people who are sort of, this is their first app for social discovery. This is their first platform that they're using to do that. They haven't necessarily used a new product in the past, another product in the past, and I think, so yeah, I think we are making a change as far as people's attitudes towards using these tools. I think we're also making a change in society. Making 2 billion connections in less than a year and a half I hope has changed society. I hope has provided a lot of life-altering value for a lot of people out there, and I hope it's made it easier to just, and more fun to meet people, and that was our goal, and I think we're doing that.
Are you going to be the best man at any Tinder weddings coming up?
That'll
be the day.
I've been invited to more weddings than I could possibly attend, but I'm too busy trying to help create other weddings to go to any of the ones that I'm invited to.
Well said. Maybe one more question.
Hi, Sean. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
So 2 questions for you. First is, can you talk a little bit about your experience? Like, have you built other companies, and how has that influenced the trajectory of Tinder?
Yep.
And then the other one is, so I know you're Persian. We're Persian as well.
Yep.
Just wondering how that's at all influenced the inspiration or the idea for this app. So.
Okay, I'll answer the first question in a second. Okay, the first question. So let me come back to the first question. I'll answer because now you got me thinking about the Persian thing. Has that helped?
Perhaps your upbringing, your childhood.
I think I come from a family of immigrants who were encouraged as children and then encouraged me to sort of do the most with my life, because you look at immigrants, like, they had to make the most and sort of achieve high goals in order to survive and assimilate into culture, and they had to be high achievers. And I think my parents definitely pushed me to do the most that I can, and I think that's definitely given me a sense of drive and a sense of purpose. I don't know if it's because I have a family of immigrants or just my family themselves, and maybe there are other families who do this too, but I think definitely my parents have impacted me, and they are entrepreneurs as well, and they've sort of achieved great things in their lives, and watching them has inspired me. What was the first question?
Do you have other experience from the past, like building other businesses that, yeah.
So the common thread, so this is my third company. My last company was Adley, which sort of started celebrity endorsements in social media. So pretty much if a celebrity endorses a brand and gets paid for it, it probably comes through Adley. Sorry if you don't like that. And then my last company was a unified communications company called Orgu, and we took all your email accounts, instant messaging, all the ways people communicate, and integrate into one platform. The common thread across all of that in Tinder is that I am so passionate and curious about how we communicate as humans. How do we express ourselves? And frankly, simplifying and sort of just like breaking down the barriers in communication. And my last 2 companies were more utilities. So how do I actually enhance my communication tools, and then how do I as a brand communicate a message to an audience? Tinder, I think, is less of a utility and more of like, how do I solve just like, how do I break down some of the social norms that we've developed as a society, and how do we work around them to sort of enhance communication and bring people closer together? But there are underlying utilities as well that we're building to sort of do that, but it's more of the context and sort of the ecosystem that we've built. But yeah, the common thread throughout all these companies have been, an interest in communication and the people around me that have sort of shared that passion and interest. And then I've learned a lot. I mean, like I said, I make mistakes every day. I fail in a small way and sometimes in a big way all the time. But the beauty of failing is if you're open to admitting the failure and learning from it, you probably won't fail again in that one department, and you'll know what to expect next time, and that just makes you stronger and more accurate with the risks that you take. So it's definitely impacted what I've done and what I, the way I look at the world. Yeah.
Awesome. So with that, I just want to thank Sean for his time.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me.
for coming
Thanks,
out. It was a pleasure interviewing you.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.